Now, I woke up this morning and I looked at the news, and for a brief moment, I forgot that it was November. I honestly looked at the news and thought, "Oh, it's got to be April 1st. This has to be a joke. There's no way this is something that you would see digibashes of and fan stuff, and there was a digibash of one of these a long time ago. Um, but this is a reality. What am I talking about exactly? If somehow you haven't looked at the thumbnail of this piece of the podcast, Takara Tomy, through their Takara Tomy Mall online web store, is going to be releasing a collaboration with Capcom, Street Fighter 2 X Transformers figure line, and it's going to be two different two packs of deluxes, two deluxes in one two pack, and two Voyagers in another two pack. And what are these deluxes? Well, let's go through them one at a time. So the first one, which was also one that I've seen someone do a custom of this a while back. The name of the person, one sec. Might as well give him a shout out because I mentioned him on Twitter also. Um, it's a Japanese fellow. He did a customize it. It's at RXSXHXC. That's literally his Twitter handle. And he did a almost very close to what we're looking at right here.
Foresaw the future.
Yeah, he did this, I think it was like the beginning of this year or something, and we're already at the end of the year. And I mean, pretty much exactly it. And I mean, this Chun-Li Street Fighter from Generations Arcee is spectacular.
Yep.
Easily the best of the four, in my opinion. But I think that the reason why it is the best of the four, despite the fact that the mold really does lend to what is the character of Chung Li, but I think it's also more so because the Generations line that she comes from a different time and price point and engineering and uh, budget than the later stuff that the three others come from Titan's Returns, and not to mention the limitations of a gimmick. And we'll get into that, let's say, with the next one here. Now, Arcee, or Chung-Li Arcee, or Arcee, I don't know how you want to pronounce it. Arclee, I don't know.
No. I think Chun-Li RC is
Yeah.
just fine.
The second one here is using Titan Returns Hot Rod as Ken. And Wendell mentioned the furrowed eyebrows off the thing here, where he's like, what's cool about it is Hot Rod's crest on his forehead of his robot mode really accentuates what Ken has as the human person, his big black furrowed evil eyebrows, if you will.
Well, I would say that's what his eyebrows kind of look like in his Super Street Fighter 2 art.
Yeah,
Like just big fuzzy eyebrows coming through his blonde hair.
yeah, and I mean, on the spoiler, it says Street Fighter 2 on there, and he comes with what looks like two maroon kind of chromed guns.
Yeah.
What's cool about this, at least with the Titan Return gimmick, the Titan Master, the Headmaster, if you will, the smaller robot is painted to look like the fighter, like to
Yeah.
look like Ken in this case, where there's a very attempted, paint scheme of the actual giant robot mode to make it look like Ken. But I feel that a little bit of that is missing in this case here. And again, I partially attribute that to the fact that a lot of these Titan Return toys, because they're Titan Masters, number one, have a very uninspired heads because they have to have that blocky head no matter what. And because it has to have a piloting gimmick, it already has to have a cockpit in it for the alt mode, so it's also a little blocky. And also because of the toy, made during a different time, Titan Returns has a little bit of a lower budget for their deluxes, so they're a little more blocky, they're a little less human shaped and more, the silhouette, if you will, is not as nice. But at least it kind of comes off a little bit okay with the hot rod mold. You could see that they put a lot of attempts with the skin color,
Right.
for
On
the
the arms
on the arms,
and
the
the
chest, the
chest.
feet, the feet. So they're at least they're trying. They're trying their damnedest to to at least to pull it off and get that dogi wearing, you know gi wearing Ken as
Right.
much as possible, with the confines of the blockiness of a Titan Returns mold. We then go to his Shotokan brother, or Shoto clone, in Ryu, and this is now the other two pack. And this other two pack is obviously two Voyagers, and
Hmm.
they use for Ryu, they use the Blitzwing slash, excuse me, not the Blitzwing, the Octane slash, I guess the Optimus Prime they used at one point mold for the Voyager.
Hmm.
I am not feeling this one. Again, the head works, the small little robot head thing works, the whole general big blocky. I mean, nothing about Ryu lends to something this large and blocky and
Yeah.
bulky. Um, and I mean, there's not much more I could say about it. It doesn't like, I mean, they put all the paint into it, just like with the Ken, to have the
Yeah,
skin
you
color.
could you can get it. You're like, oh, okay, I could see it, but
But at the
I
same,
don't know. Maybe they went this route just because this was a Optimus Prime mold. Maybe I don't know.
which then goes into the next one here, because Ryu's the big good. I guess in the case of the big bad being Bison.
Hmm.
Now, just for people who might be confused, who are outside of the Street Fighter fandom, these are Japanese products. Bison in Japan was called Vega.
Yeah.
It's a long story. Long story short, Capcom didn't want to get sued by Mike Tyson. So the
Hmm.
character that we know as Balrog was called M. Bison. They just shifted all the names one over of the original World Warrior villains. And Vega became M. Bison. M. Bison became Balrog. Balrog became Vega. It's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a search for this set and you see Ryu at Vega, your eyes aren't deceiving you. It's not the Spanish claw, you know, character. It's just that's what Bison was called in Japan. So just to establish that beforehand, because some people might be confused by that. So Bison, aka the Dictator, aka Mister, Big Bad, they use the Megatron slash Blitzwing mold here, and again, the head does a great job. The Megatron head, I think, actually really does a great job for Bison. Again, looks great, really
I like the
catches.
arms. The fact that they can get the arms folded on
Well,
itself,
see,
and then the fact that he's like doing the levitation pose. I think that
it
really
it
kind of sells it for
some
me.
people pointed it out, saying like, it looks good because of that. But to be honest, there's a lot of toys that can achieve some form of an arm cross and an ankle tilt like that. So I think it was more just they looked at, oh, this was an Optimus and a Megatron mold. They're both a higher price point scale. They're both the two most important villain and good guy in the Street Fighter mythos. They could be the higher price point two pack, and that we'll get to with
Right.
the price points. Arcee and Ken, or Chun-Li and Ken, come in a two pack, and it's going to be 8,640 yen. Scheduled to come out 2018 of May, and there's no date after that, so it's May 2018. And the Ryu and Bison is also going to be coming out in March of 2018, but it's going to cost considerably more money, clocking in at 12,000 yen. So about $120, let's just say, to keep it simple. And the Kennen,
Ooh-wee.
which isn't terrible. It isn't
No, no.
terrible. Um,
Understandably.
Same thing. The Kennen Ryu, excuse me, the Kennen Chun-Li is 8,000 yen, which is about $80, which is about $40 each, which is the average for a deluxe Legends figure imported, anyways. And these are going to be something from the Takara Mall thing that you order online, so it'll
Right.
be a little more limited. And this is a licensed product, which should technically have another cost in its creation. But
Hmm.
much like when they did the PlayStation Megatron and the
I don't know. For me personally, I don't think they would differ that much in cost because you're not engineering something new. You're
No,
just
that's
taking
true
old
too.
modes and slap dapping
You
some new
are
paint
right. You are right.
and slapping on a new name.
It's just I found with a lot of other licensed material in the past with Transformers when they crossed over with product, they always seem to be more expensive. But
Well, I mean, and
but you
again,
are
like
correct with all of those previous examples. There was brand new tooling
yeah,
done for
exactly.
those.
Completely new molds, completely new
Where
everything,
this
and
is, there's nothing new about these. They're just heavily repainted to do
yeah,
the best that they can. Of the four, like I said, the Chun-Li does the best job, but I feel that the main reason why she does the best job is because a lot of those Generations toys were just spectacular,
yeah.
and they had, really good head sculpts, really good silhouettes, and this then is going to be a segue into the
Well,
net.
well, 1 second before we go,
Okay, I guess we'll.
uh, I f- again, this is another drinking game for everybody that's listening to us. I keep telling Proto Man someone at Takara Tomy and Hasbro are just finding ways for you specifically to buy more Hot Rod
Well,
figures.
yeah, just to mention, I mean, a lot of people don't know this because I don't really talk about it much. I played Street Fighter very seriously
hmm
since God 1991 and never stopped. And I mean friendships were broken over this stuff.
Quarters were lost.
Yeah, it's like very seriously playing Street Fighter throughout the years. And Ken has always been kind of my favorite character. I play Street Fighter from a sense where whatever works for me in that moment. Like, in Street Fighter 2, I would use Ken, sometimes main Blanca. When you go into, like, obviously there's an evolution in Street Fighter 2 games with Turbo and Championship Edition and Super Turbo. When you
Yeah.
get into Alpha, I kind of leaned more towards using Sagat, then going into
hmm
Sakura when she came out, and then going into Blanca again with Street Fighter Alpha 3. With Street Fighter
But I would just say just the joke I'm making basically is that of the two Shotokan fighters, Proto Man mostly he leans heavier
Oh
into
yeah, I
Ken.
never use Ryu actually, but
Ken is
is the
more
hot
your
rod
guy.
mold. Yeah. You know why I think they did that though? I think because they were just like, what, hot rods, red and yellow. Like it already kind of is there. Maybe the spoiler kind of adds to Ken's long, ponytail if they want to go with Alpha Ken.
hmm
I don't know, just because there's something back there. I don't know, but it's just I know I find that funny too. That one of my favorite, if not my most favorite character from the Street Fighter lore, um, is also using the mold of my favorite Transformer character of all time. It's great, really. I mean, I'm really excited about this. I like this. This is the kind of stuff I've said about it when third party would do that stuff, the Mario Luigi stuff, and I would say this stuff would never happen. When I saw this news this morning, I thought literally, once in a while you just forget the date.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
forgot the season I was in. Forget the date. I was like, "Are we in April? Like, did I just? I thought it was snowing outside before." Like it was just I couldn't believe it because it's one of those too good to be true things. It has to be a joke, but they
Mhm.
don't do this kind of stuff other times around. The Japanese, keep in mind the Japanese do April Fools also. There was an April Fools joke. I think it was maybe about 4 or 5 years ago where the Pokemon Company did a thing where Rat Trap was going to be a transforming Pikachu,
Mhm.
and they did it with the Generations Rat Trap, and it was
Oh
it
yeah,
was an
yeah.
April Fool's joke, but I mean, we knew, we wake up that morning of April Fools and know not to take anything seriously. But this was just like it took us from left, and it's again. I look at the RC and I'm like, that is
That's
perfect.
weird because that didn't so around that time didn't Tommy have the rights for Pokemon?
They still do, yes. They
So they could have done something
they well,
like
that's
that
just it. That's
technically.
where it was something that was almost legit
That
because
seems feasible.
Tommy and Hasbro own the rights to the Pokemon merchandising of stuff, specifically the figures, and then it's called the Pokemon series, like that scale. I
hmm
think it's called the Mon Collection,
Oh,
which is
okay.
that 2-inch scale of PVC figures of Pokemon. So I mean, it's something that was totally feasible. But I'm looking at this and I'm like, I guess Capcom, you know, worked out something. And I mean, this is great. And
Why not?
again,
Do it.
before I guess yeah, anything you want to get in before we get to the segue?
Let's see here. No, I mean, I guess this is what they're rolling with. I guess if this does well, they're gonna do more. I would want to know what else they have planned, and if not, maybe we can help them. Wink, wink, nudge,
Wink,
nudge.
wink, nudge,
Segue.
nudge to our segue, which is